Welcome to the Always Better Than Yesterday YouTube channel. I am your host, Ryan Hartley. This channel is for heart-centered leaders just like you. I hope our time spent together helps you leave a heartprint where those around you are left better than yesterday. These interview sessions are sponsored by our great friends at Elevate Online Marketing. On episode 177, I welcome back David Florence to the podcast. David is the host of the YouTube channel Evolution of Dave and is a wellbeing consultant trained in various disciplines, including breathwork, NLP, clinical hypnotherapy, and flow state science. This is going to be a great conversation that's going to equip you with some information all around how to improve your health and well-being, backed by science, but most importantly, hoping to nudge you to just trying one or two things that leave you a bit better than you were before pushing play. It's a great conversation. We'll hear about Dave's 5-year journey with his evolution and how it all started with simply just trying the Wim Hof method, the breathing, the cold water exposure. Maybe you've been watching the BBC series with Wim Hof, Freeze the Fear. Come and hear from Dave, who's been practicing that for over 5 years, as well as advancing that with other forms of breathwork on his YouTube channel and where he coaches people. Dave is going to be speaking at our event at the end of June. If you have not got your tickets yet, head to the link in the description. You will be able to get your tickets, and I know that once you've heard Dave speak here on the podcast, you're going to want to come and see him and experience his talk in person. Here we go, episode 177 with David Florence. Dave Florence, welcome back to the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast, mate. How are you?
Very good, sir. Very good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, mate, it's so good to see you. And we connected episode 117, which was back in February, I think, 2021. And I'm really glad that we've kept our friendship going, and you're going to be coming to speak at the 5-year event in June. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. I am getting very excited by the whole idea.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. So for those listeners that are new to the podcast, maybe they've not been here very long, and maybe they've not seen episode 117, do you mind just giving us a brief reintroduction? Who is Dave?
Yes, so my name is David Florence. I began a journey to optimize my physical and mental health back in 2017 when I experienced a bang to the head, left me in hospital, and the next day I decided, right, it's now time to operate a kind of a research program to enhance my mental health, my physical health. And at the time, I was watching videos on a certain Dutchman by the name of Wim Hof that everybody's heard of. And it was that acted as a catalyst. As soon as I got home, I went into the garden. It was -10, mid-December. I got the garden hose, doused myself with cold water, experienced this wonderful feeling. And that really kickstarted my journey that I then started to chronicle on YouTube and called that channel Evolution of Dave. And then from there until now, it's been a journey of me continually looking at ways to enhance my health via various different natural protocols, natural methods. And I now teach all this stuff. So it's gone from me having a different career back then to what I now do, where I teach all of these methods to individuals and corporate clients as well.
I love that. And I think our journeys must have, I think Always Better Than Yesterday started around about 31st of May, 2017. And looking at your channel, you posted that 6-month Wim Hof review around about 4 years ago. So our kind of journeys have started at the same time, really. And it's just nice the way that it's all coming together and we get to share time and space together. And
Totally.
But Vim's very popular at the moment. Obviously, he's spreading the good message. And for those people that are maybe new to Vim, new to his TV show Freeze the Fear, if they can get past the crazy Dutch guy kind of caricature, like what are some of the things that you, in your own experience, have taken from kind of his breathing methods and his cold water exposure?
Yeah. And also, I think we should add there that his gregarious, verbose nature is what sells it. Let's face it, you need that kind of character at the front.
Crazy like a monkey.
Yeah, exactly. So what he's combined are ancient ideas, really, both in terms of the cold therapy as well as the breath work. The breath work comes from ancient methods of Indian breath work called pranayama, and also tumo, which is Tibetan, and combine the both. And what these both do, actually, what the cold water does and the breath work, is act as a stressor on the body. And these short bouts of stress from a physiological perspective over time help to adapt and change what's going on inside, allow you to become more resilient to stress. The breath work was the thing at the beginning that really did excite me. I loved the cold. I say that actually in the sense that obviously initially when you start getting used to the cold water or ice baths, you're forcing yourself to do it. So you don't necessarily love it. You love the experience afterwards, when the brain then remembers, oh yeah, okay, this feels really good. But the bit at the beginning when you're telling yourself to get in the ice bath or have a cold shower normally is pretty tough.
It's like put your head inside the tiger, right? It's like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I'd rather not. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, why do I want to experience this pain? But as David Goggins, and most people have heard of him now, David Goggins will put it, callousing the mind is this wonderful exercise. And that's what you're doing with cold therapy, really, that you are, through forcing yourself to experience this stress, you are effectively becoming more resilient by callousing the mind. You're strengthening the mind to be able to handle it, so that when other stress comes your way, you're much better able to deal with it and handle it. But the breath work, I think it's about 3 or 4 months in from doing the Wim Hof style of breath work, I started to experience some very high highs. And I mean really high highs, as in shout from the rooftop type highs. And I was evangelizing to everybody, that none of whom would listen to me if they were close to me, of course, because who does? Your partner never listens to you. Your friends never listen to you with new ideas, because they remember the old person that you were. They don't want this new person being all crazy. So then I started to get this insatiable appetite for learning. I realized my memory was improving. So I put it all down initially to the bang to the head. I thought, hang on a minute, maybe I've had that weird experience that some people do, where you get a bang to the head and then you become this great, wonderful artist. I realized much later on that there's enough research now to indicate that that will have come from the breath work. The breath work in many ways opens up dormant parts of your brain. It gives you capabilities that you didn't know you had, which we all have. Much of our brain isn't working, when we need it to. So there's probably still lots more research needed in this area, but there's certainly enough for me through my own research and my own experience to know that breath work works. And it works on a number of different levels. You can use it to calm the system. You can use it to create energy. You can use it to wake up your brain. You can use it, I think, for longevity benefits. And that probably moves on to another topic. Maybe we should come on. I should come on again. We'll talk about longevity and the stuff that I've been practicing around that. But anyway,
we could do a whole series. But it's interesting how Wim had a particular moment in his life that just, obviously, without doing too much of a spoiler alert, his wife passed, and he was left with 4 children, and then he just, to get some sense of life back, he would just put himself in cold rivers. And you obviously had your bang to the head, and you started out. For me, it was Boris, and when he when he made those decisions to lock us down, like I wouldn't describe myself as a stressed or anxious person, but that loss of freedom was definitely something, and particularly with my own viewpoints around how, that was done, and the kind of, shall we say, the breaches of human leadership that have been seen over the last couple of years as well. Like a lot of that kind of really got to me at the core, which is why I then started to jump in a wheelie bin, inspired by your good self. And what I've come to learn is that when we're under states of stress, we're constantly just flooding our bodies with this little thing called cortisol. And the more and more I've listened about cortisol, the effects of it, I think we understand the fight-flight response of those things. But it's reading things like James Nestor's Breath that makes you realize that oxygen isn't getting to the key points within our body, causing us disease and cancers. And So the thing I know you want to talk about chemicals within our body in terms of the positive ones, but like it's understanding for me that like that cold is a switch. It's like turn it on, and then because I then are able to get out of the bath or turn the shower off, it's like I've reset myself.
Yep.
And it's like I remember going to the police, walking through the building, my heart rate would just be elevated, just being present, just being there, seeing how many unread emails I had left, how many tasks I still had to do before the next meeting, and I don't think we realize how much we live with that just underlying sense of stress and cortisol. What's your kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Everybody does. When I talk to corporate clients and do workshops, and I've done a few on stress awareness and management, I always say that everybody is on this anxiety stressometer. And really the only difference between the person that's on one side able to manage it and the other is just simply that they've either got natural mechanisms. So a lot of us do have these natural mechanisms and are better able to handle stress than others. And the ones that are on this end are the ones that just don't have any tools in order to keep the nervous system at bay, or to keep it balanced, or they just simply have these natural, or rather they don't have these natural mechanisms to handle stress. And I now know that if I regularly put myself through short bouts of stress that I have control of, like a cold shower, like physical exercise, then I know, just like in physical exercise, my body will strengthen and grow. So with physical exercise, you exercise a muscle, your body goes, oh, hang on a minute, you're probably going to do that again, aren't you? I better start figuring out how to pump more oxygen to that muscle to enable it to grow. And also to be able to make use of proteins and things like that in the body. So in a way, the way I look at mental health, in particular in stress, is that it requires exercise. Your mental health needs exercise. Your brain needs exercise. And if you look at it that way, it's a much easier way of considering stress and mental health, because all you need to do is every day you need to say to yourself, okay, how am I going to keep my mental health exercised? And you do that via a number of, quite often, short methods. When people think about the usual methods of staying calm and both spiritually as mentally calm, people often think about meditation. And then those that do think about it that haven't done it before will then think, I haven't got time to meditate. I haven't got time to be mindful. But actually, with all the stuff that I teach, there's a whole load of practices that you can do, sometimes even just in a minute or 5 minutes. And as long as you crowbar them in your day at regular intervals, you will keep the stress at bay. And actually, another point to mention, so we know through the work of Sean Aker, who wrote the book, The Happiness Advantage, and he's done various other books, we know stress is good for us. And actually, your perception of stress is really interesting. So if, for example, you are in a stressful job and you are constantly thinking, this is too stressful, I'm going to be ill. Well, lo and behold, that's what happens. If, however, you see the stress as inevitable, as just a part of the work experience, and so long as you have bouts of recovery and repair, then you won't have the same perception of stress as other people do, and you won't get ill. But the crucial bit really is that you need to experience stress. Then, just like in exercise, you need 1 or 2 days of recovery and repair. And if you don't have that, that's when chronic conditions occur. And also, I should probably add at this point, that's when you start getting ill. I've had a cold for 6 days, and that is because I pushed the envelope too much. I went from 1 day of very physical exercise in my gardening job, followed by a boot camp the next day in the morning that I shouldn't have done, followed by not very much nutrition, and then 5 hours walking in the hills, and then a very late night. And so my body at that point went, yeah, now it's time to send you a message, Dave. This is what you're going to get. So I think even if you know this stuff, you can get it wrong.
Hey, my friends, just want to take a quick moment to thank you for listening to the show so far. I hope it is serving you well. And I wanted to let you know that on the 25th of June, we will be holding a 5-year celebration based at the home of our podcast, Elevate Online Marketing offices in Trowbridge. Our community turns 5 this summer, and I really want to bring great people like you together. We have 3 guest speakers lined up. We will be joined by the YouTube sensations that are Evolution of Dave and Esther McCann. And we'll also be joined by our great friend and TEDx speaker, Tommy Gentleman. It's going to be a great celebration. We'll have welcome drinks provided by Elevate Online Marketing. We're going to have some great food provided by Velicious. And we have a band performing live for the very first time. There's a special connection with the band. All will be revealed soon. But for now, please head to the show notes, get your tickets, and I really look forward to celebrating with you on the 25th of June. Let's get back to the interview. The really interesting thing that I've found is that we've been conditioned to believe that if unhealthy, go seek a third person, go see a doctor. It's almost like we've been conditioned that everything else that we need is outside of us in some way, because that is commercial, it's a business, it sells. And I think it takes away from the understanding that we have so much within ourselves that is able to do what the body does best and heal and replenish and recover and to grow. And I really like the words that you used on one of your posts recently about how to ride the chemical waves, which was about having this inner pharmacy.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So this really came from initial conversations with Soma breath, one of the practices that I teach. And this is one of the terms that they've often used, that when you think of a pharmacy in the real world where you pop in and you buy drugs that are sold, think of something similar, almost like the same kind of pharmacy that you have available where all the products are free. And it's all within your body. We have a raft of neurochemicals that we can turn on at will if we know how to do it. Yeah. And you mentioned there cortisol earlier when it comes to stress, and also obviously adrenaline is another stress response. Often people think of both as being negative, but actually they can be positive, and that you can make them work for you. You just need to know how and when. And but then if you look at things like serotonin, the happy chemical, if you look at oxytocin, the love chemical, and by the way, the oxytocin, you can create oxytocin just by helping another human being. You don't have to go around hugging people, which I know you love doing, Ryan, and I will hug you every time I see you.
Thank you.
For a bit, I'll just do it selfishly for the oxytocin. But
does that make me a drug dealer?
Yes, well, quite possibly, yes. But what's wonderful is you give it for free.
100%. Yeah.
But what's cool is that in the stuff that you do, the wonderful work that you do, you are constantly being flooded with oxytocin because you're helping other human beings. You can turn on dopamine, which is a real doing chemical, just by having cold showers. Yeah. So 15 minutes after your cold shower, you've got 3 hours after that where dopamine's flooding your system, which is why I do the cold shower when I do. And then I'm in this totally focused work mode. And that's also on top of the fact that I'm drinking black coffee, which of course will add further neurochemicals. I will have practiced breath work that would have added further neurochemicals. So yeah, and you can just keep riding this wave of neurochemicals all through the day, so long as you know what to do and when, which by the way is quite simple. You just need to regularly do it.
It's really interesting because I feel that we live in a culture that has a great understanding of that and uses it to exploit people. Because you talked about dopamine and cortisol, and I think we are constantly subjected to bits of cortisol when we look at the news, when we look at the media, when we see, because all of this does is if we look at the work of Bruce Lipton, is it gives us the perception that the world is unsafe and an environment that is out to get us, and that we lack in some way, and that we're inadequate and we need more beyond us, and it leaves us with a constant drip of cortisol. And then you add to that a lot of our culture exploiting our dopamine responses. I guess the dopamine chemical is one of motivation. It makes the body feel good, and it makes you go repeat that behavior, which is what we get every time we get a notification on our phone. So we get every time we have even just like for kids these days, it's just so much. If we didn't have an awareness of this, you poor kids are being targeted through the adverts and through the toys and through the unlimited amount of TV and games and I guess the first step is to have an awareness of what the culture does to our body, because I think many people are suffering with mental health, and inevitably the conversation becomes what is wrong with my mental health versus what am I part of. When Bruce Lipton says it's the environment, stupid, he says that actually before we look at the health of the cell, we must first look at the environment that it's surrounded by.
Totally.
And I guess what you're saying then is that we can actually consciously shape our environment to ride the positive waves.
Yeah, totally. I think it's all about grabbing control. When you talk about tech there and the fact that it can suck you in, well, more fool you, really, because you're allowing it to do that. It's cleverly set up to do that through the algorithm. So it's very, I'm not saying that you are weaker by allowing it to happen. It happens to most people. But if you grab control and you consciously decide how you want to make it work for you, so you can make your phone work for you, for your benefit, or any other form of technology, but you have to decide that you have control over it. As soon as you relinquish that control, it's just going to be sucking you in for the rest of the day. And you're going to be in that state where, in this kind of subconscious state all through the day, where if somebody asked you a week later, what did you do that day? You won't know, because your brain won't have recorded it properly. You won't have this kind of memory of positive experiences because you've allowed the technology to grab control. So yeah, it's discipline that's required. But again, herein where lies the benefits of cold showers in particular, in that you're creating this discipline that inevitably not only works for you long term, but it also informs how you can be disciplined in other areas of your life. You spoke as well about this kind of productization that we have nowadays and of everything. And it amused me the other day that a company has come up with this product that gives you nitric oxide, because there are benefits to increasing your nitric oxide because it's an antiviral, it's an antibacterial chemical. The stupid thing is you can create your own nitric oxide very easily. You say, you're pointing to your nose there for those that are listening, and that is it. Humming increases nitric oxide. In fact, it increases it by 7 times more than just nose breathing. So if you're a mouth breather, you won't produce it. If you're a nose breather, which everybody should be, you're going to be producing nitric oxide. In other words, you're helping the body with this antibacterial, antiviral, and vasodilator. It opens up the blood vessels. If you hum, so take a deep breath and simply go, sorry, I've just still got my snotty nose. So, and you make this humming sound, you're going to increase the nitric oxide by 7%. Sorry, by 7 more times than if you were breathing through your nose. So don't go and buy that silly product. You can do it yourself very easily.
Isn't it? But that's convenience. We think, again, we're conditioned to think everything we require is outside of us. All we have to do is buy it.
Yeah, those damn pharmaceutical companies. They've got a lot to answer for, as we know.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, we should put it down to marketing.
100%.
I think Bill Hicks said it. I can't tell you what he actually said when I saw him live back in 1992 or whatever the year was he died. And he said something very particular about those in marketing, which I can't repeat. But I think this is where people in marketing need to realize, and companies need to realize, they actually have a responsibility, and that what they're doing may seem slight, it may seem small, but what they're really doing that affects the nation, that affects the world with their marketing
100%.
is really sends us down an avenue of poor health.
Yeah. If anyone, so I'm not going to terribly share my opinion on this massively right now, or any particular pharmaceutical products. But if you want to research and have a look, or even just watch a TV documentary, TV series, there's a series called Dope Sick, and that profiles what I didn't realize was a true live case. And it's all about these pain management pills that they developed in the 90s that really created this culture around using this opiate crisis, and it's going on now. These people are going through court, and it's if you just Google the Sacklers and understand it, and then that's it. I'll just leave that there. Go and do your research. Go and have a look at what some of these pharmaceutical companies do, how they market it, how they get away with it, and how they're not held accountable for it.
Yeah,
that's all I'll say on the issue, because the irony is everything that Dave's talking to you about is right under your nose.
It really is. There's so much of what we're capable of people don't know. Or, and actually I think we did know. Most people did know this, probably 1,000 years ago. It was just a part of how they existed.
Yeah.
They didn't really think about it. They just knew that if they ate that plant, they'd heal. If they, did the following practice, they'd heal whatever other condition they had.
Yeah.
We've just lost all that knowledge. It is such a shame.
So I've grown in my faith over the last couple of years, and one of the good I don't want to say quotes as if I'm like doing Jesus as a life quote, but like there's a phrase in the Bible that says about perfect love casts out fear. And I read something in Joe Dispenza's book that says that the production of oxytocin inhibits the production of cortisol. And I was like saying the same thing. I was like, that's amazing. So I think, when I talk about, heart-centered, doing more of what you love, having courage, I think there's actually a neurochemical kind of truth there that says actually when you are flooding your body with this oxytocin, you're cutting off the stress chemical.
You really are. And also I think when you create this path of existence where you've consciously decided to change how you were living, and you were on that other path that was very safe. When you do that, lots of positive things happen. And the funny thing is, it just snowballs, doesn't it? As you start to optimize your health, which isn't selfish. A lot of people think that they don't have time, and therefore, as parents, for example, they don't have time to optimize their health. It's selfish to spend time in the gym or selfish to spend time on a retreat. But actually, the wider long-term benefits outweigh those short-term losses to your family. And when you become healthier, stronger, you become happier, more loving. When you become happier and more loving, you then, that impacts your friends and your family. And actually, you probably will spend less time with those that are toxic to you as well. You'll deliberately, it'll just be a natural thing that occurs because your body and brain will be saying to you, hang on a minute, you feel really good at the moment. That last conversation didn't make you feel good. So let's have less of that, please. Because really, you want to be spending time with all those people that get you, understand you, that love you. Yeah. And then so I think
it's learning to tap into that, isn't it? It's learning to have that awareness of how our body feels in certain situations, under certain conditions, and certain environments.
Yeah, it really is. And when the brain is incredible. It's ridiculously stupid sometimes, and and it will remind you of things that are, as if it's working off of old data. It will remind you of things that just aren't relevant because it's working on association all the time. In other words, hang on a minute, I remember we were here before and you were injured. Therefore, I better flash those images back at you. Again, this is linked to trauma and things like that. And that's going to help you prepare so that you don't experience that thing again. But often the brain is trying its best, but it can only work off of these old memories. So the more, again, you grab control of life and not allow your brain to kind of dictate your actions and your movements, the more positive things start to occur and you create this new life.
Yeah, I was really curious about your just shining a red light, looking into red lights every now and again.
Yeah. Red light therapy, I've been doing now for at least a year. I use it for two reasons in the main. I use it every day. First of all, I'm always looking at it or got it shining on my face. And I often combine breath work whilst having it shone in my face. But I use it in particular for injuries as well. So there is, again, a lot of research now to indicate that red light works. One of its, most of the research is to do with inflammation and the reduction of inflammation. So I use it if I've been gardening and overworking a muscle. I might have inflamed it in some way. So that helps to reduce the inflammation, which is amazing. People often use red light for reducing scarring, for example, wrinkles. Apparently it encourages hair growth. Now, as you can see, I haven't experienced that, and I don't expect to. I think I'm a lost cause as far as that's concerned. But yeah, so there are lots of claims. Most of them are backed up by research. And it is also theoretically something that can improve your eyesight. Again, there's a bit of research to do with this. I think more research is required. So you can stare at it. This red light is on the spectrum. I think it's about 632 hertz. It's just below infrared. So it's a slightly different spectrum to infrared. But you can use it as long as you want. It doesn't have any ill effects on your body. But regular use does have many benefits.
I guess it's all coming to the understanding that everything of this material world is below the speed of light, isn't it? And I guess there are frequencies to that speed of light. And I guess my simple understanding is that, like you say, the 632 hertz is one of a certain frequency that has good healing effects. I think we're all aware of the studies where if we speak or there's good vibrational energy through a snowflake and it freezes, everything is kind of this almost like this perfect ordering of nature, versus the disrupting, speak stress or speak bad words. And I think the world is starting to understand that everything is energy. And when we start to learn, high vibrational good energy versus that which is counter and destructive to life, and it's trying to put ourselves in environments and places and spaces where that vibrational frequency does what it does best, which is a natural ordering and of perfect nature. I think there's something called are you aware of the Fibonacci curve?
Yeah.
I guess the Fibonacci curve, for those that are listening, go and Google it. It's this understanding that it's like a self-repeating pattern in nature. It's just perfect in its ordering, perfect in its creation. And
didn't it appear in a movie?
I don't know.
I'm sure it did. Anyway, but yeah, absolutely. And I think when you this conversation now around energy, a few years ago, I wouldn't have been able to join in.
Same, yeah.
Wouldn't have made any sense to me, and I would have thought, hang on, that's just woo-woo. That's rubbish. Now, since my mind has been totally opened, I get it. I totally understand it. Everything is energy.
Yeah.
As you say, words are. I think I saw you saw the post that I did where there's a particular Acer tree near I live where my son, he's 7, almost 8, and he just naturally waves his hand as he walks past and touches this tree. And it's just the soft leaves, which are lovely. Now he does that naturally without much thought, but he encourages me to do it. And now it's become a thing. We can't pass this now without scraping our hand across it.
High five in the tree as you go.
Yeah. I've been hugging trees now for quite some time as well. I quite happily do that. And I do get a sense of the energy within. When you come across other human beings and you just instinctively want to be in their orbit, that is energy. That's something you're picking up there that you're not quite sure of, but it feels really good. And you're thinking, oh, maybe this person maybe it's because they're so positive. They're giving, they're saying so many positive things, but it's much more than that. And in fact, there is a technique that you can do that I teach that will enhance your own positive energy. It's a qigong-like breathwork practice. You can draw the energy up from the ground, and by forcing it outwards, not only are you creating this positive energy within, but you're almost creating this bubble of positive energy around you, so that when people bump into you in the streets, you find that they want to stick around whilst you're rambling away. It doesn't matter what the subject is, because there's something about you that they're really picking up on. So I make use of that technique, for example, if I'm doing a real in-person workshop.
I love that. It's fascinating. You know, I take a lot of insights from like the heart math and this understanding that the field that our heart projects goes far beyond the field of our mind. So literally raising our positive emotions and our love and our care and our gratitude for people can be experienced. And you know, there'll be some people that are engaging in this podcast that are like, okay, I'm early doors, and the thing I'd suggest for anyone that there is just try something. You know, this isn't an intellectual game at this point. This is a go have an experience, go and hug a tree, go and do some grounding, go and walk in nature, go and do something kind, or love someone, or hug someone, or have a cold shower. Do one thing and assess how that's made you feel. Did it help? Did it not? Do it more, do it less, you know? And I think that's the amazing thing. And I love that you have a platform that's encouraging and enabling both those that have been around this game for a while, because you've got some great guidance videos and courses, but also a huge amount of resource for those that are new, dipping their toe. And more and more people are starting to dip their toe quite literally into rivers. My good friend Billy's getting in the Bradford Navon River. Shout out to Billy. So where can people kind of find more about you, your work, and what sort of courses and offerings have you got in this world at the moment?
So just on that last point, I would also add is, yes, do try anything, but turn off your judgment switch, which we all have. Because we are conditioned from a societal perspective, from our parents teaching, from our friends. We're conditioned, and quite often we allow the judgment to stop us from doing these things that we want to try.
One thing I'm curious then, I suffer the paradox of expectation. If I expect it, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy of expectation. So I understand the value of, if I expect this to work, it will work, versus, well, if I expect it to and it doesn't. Like, so what's your view on suspend expectation as well, or is it expect to feel something different?
I think probably learn how to be in the present moment, where that analytical mind is turned off, and then experience it. So almost, it's a bit like when people talk about meditation, and I often say sometimes you need to prepare the mind for meditation, which seems really silly, but you do. And I think sometimes you want to try these practices, but you almost want to prepare the mind before you try them, so that you're in the perfect state in order to experience them.
So like, we're going to do this. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to feel better at the end of it. Or
maybe not even with that expectation. Just try it. That's it.
We're going to be here for the next 20 minutes. You've got to go. There's nowhere you need to do. There's nowhere you need to go. Be. Just be.
You know, the funny thing is, that is the kind of conversation I have with my mind every day. I do. He and I, assuming he is a he, have conversations like that all the time.
I hear you. Where can people find more of that good stuff?
So YouTube, obviously, Evolution of Dave. Just put Evolution of Dave. You'll see a little blue Neanderthal-looking figure. That's my logo. And I'm regularly posting stuff on there about breathwork, cold therapy, yada, yada, yada. But also a lot to do with positive psychology and mental health. Find me on LinkedIn, David Florence, especially if you're a corporate and you want to book in some workshops with me. I'm doing a lot on stress awareness and management, but also breathwork. Instagram is evolution_of_Dave.
I'll share all the good links in the show notes.
Brilliant. And I am on Facebook. I don't do much on Facebook, but I am on there as well. Again, Evolution of Dave. or Dave Florence. Both of them are on there. David Florence.
We're about a month out from the event. Have you got any ideas of what you want to talk about yet?
Yeah, I do want it to be in some way motivational.
Mm-hmm.
It is going to be experiential.
Yeah, nice.
People aren't going to be getting bored with me rambling on upstage. I'm going to be getting people involved straight away, right from the outset. They're probably going to have to stand up at some point.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to have to move their body at some point.
Yeah. Vagus nerves stimulated, eyes looking up to the sky.
You bit of that, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So you were on a friend of ours, Heather Parody, on Happy Brain podcast. I think I remember seeing a couple of your things, but one of them was like looking up. Is that right?
Well, there is the looking up, but there's also looking left and right. Yeah. So you could do a polyvagal where you're sort of looking up, add a smile to your face, move eyes and head up and hold it there for a minute. And that totally changes your state. You could also do this EMDR idea, eye movement therapy, where you move your eyes left and right. Yeah. And that calms you down. Nice. The reason behind that is that when we walk forwards, our eyes are always moving around all over the place to try and take in the world. And when we're moving forwards and we're walking, we're saying to our brain, I've got this, I understand it, we're all okay, everything is fine. Yeah. So when you experience fear, if you move your eyes left and right, you're basically saying to your brain, I've got this, don't worry, I'm all right, thanks very much. We don't need to be fearful. So yeah, really simple technique. If you combine that, by the way, with what's called a physiological breath, and that is an inhale without a snotty nose. And then once you get to the top, you then do another short, further inhale, and then exhale all the way. That helps to calm you down. It's something we do naturally. You see children do it when they sob. It's almost like this involuntary, it's like a double breath. So you can, again, this is a hack. I teach lots of hacks, and that's a way of hacking the system to calm you down. Inhale all the way, add a little short burst of inhale, exhale.
Love that. There's loads of good stuff on Dave's YouTube channel. Go and check them out. Dave, thank you so much for your time, brother. Really excited to see what you're going to do at the event. So if you're listening and you're in the Trowbridge area, make sure you head over to the show notes now that you can get your links there to get your tickets. Sorry. Dave, be honored if you'd leave us with a final thought.
Yeah, don't push it. Don't push the envelope too much. Learn how to experience stress and use it to your advantage. But also, if you can, unlike I did, learn how much you can push it. It's all about repair and recovery, and that's what I didn't do. So this is me being honest.
Legend.
And I'm still learning.
That's the point. I think, I think when we talk about always better than yesterday, is understanding where is today's limits, where is today's boundaries, what is, and sometimes I say this to my son in rugby and my teams when I coach rugby, I said, sometimes you just got to push that line. Sometimes you got to go beyond that line to know where the line actually is. Yeah, and then you go, oh, I got told off. Let me just, I don't tell him to do that in the home mind. Exactly. On the rugby pitch, he needs to find where the line is, probably go past it so that he knows where the boundaries are. And I guess that's what you're saying about our health and well-being, right? You know what? We could learn a lot from our children because they do all this stuff naturally. Hey, I love the quote that he shared. Do you remember it? Your son? Oh, yeah. The brain is good for maths and the heart is good for telling the truth. There we go. Mic drop. Dave, appreciate you, my friend. Cheers. Thank you for making it to the end of the interview here on YouTube. I hope that our time spent together has left you a little bit better than before you push play. Before you go anywhere, please leave a comment down below. Some of your key reflections, your key takeaways. I love hearing from you and what this conversation has inspired in you. Let me know what you're going to do as a result of this conversation. I will be back next Wednesday where I will share another inspiring guest. To make sure that you don't miss that, please do subscribe. Hit the bell and you will be notified as soon as it goes live. If you're curious to know how I, through Always Better Than Yesterday, can serve you, your team, your organization, please do visit alwaysbetterthanyesterday.com, and it will be my honor and privilege to help you in any way I can. Keep leading, my friends. I've been Ryan Hartley, host of the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast here on YouTube. Always love.